I thought maybe somebody would enjoy seeing this. I forgot that I had this. This is Sansui A-40. I call it the Economy series. And this is just such a cool amp in many ways. What I like about this is the big, huge 80s look to it. It's got the big, huge knobs on it and the meters and everything. And it looks just so cool. It's very light. It's easy to take in and out of the rack. You don't have to worry about dropping it. Although one day I did accidentally push it down over the back of the rack and it took like a 5-foot fall. And it completely survived. Didn't hurt it at all. So if you look between the meters there, you can see that there's an LED sit in between the meters there. There's actually a yellow LED in there. Yeah, now we can see it. So I call this my tricked out Sansui, and I just did this one day when I was really bored and needed something to do. I just wanted to see what I could do with this thing. So let me show you the inside of it, and then I'll show you why it's tricked out. That's the inside of it. That's why it's so light. But here's why it's tricked out. Get a gander at that. If that's not a feat of engineering, I don't know what is. So I put a fan in this thing. Why? I don't know. Because I could. I think it turned out really good. The good old can't go wrong ABS that works to make all kinds of cool little plates and stuff. It's easy to work with. No headaches, no special tools, machines, and everything really good. So I just put a chunk of ABS there. Now that I'm thinking about it, it seems to me there had to be some stuff moved. Okay, that's what I'm missing. I see what I did. I took out the one set of binding posts. I totally forgot about that. Why do you need an A and B system? Well, I didn't need one, so I took it out. So you got one set of binding posts. That's how I got the room to do this. So I got a 400 milliamp fuse here and a 1 amp here. Now I remember. I put a 1 amp on the lighting tap, and there's a 400 milliamp on the control board. That's what I did. Now I completely remember. So, you know, that's what I did to this. It's a 12-volt fan, one of those little tiny minis. But it's actually running at 16. It's actually running at 16. Because I remember taking some diode drops out in order to bump it up. Man, it's been a long time since I looked at this. I probably used an LM358 in there. I can't see the darn blasted thing from here, but I can guarantee it's an LM358. So, there's my temperature control pot down on the bottom. I put a voltage regulator on it that ties into the whatever it is, 33, 34, can't remember. And then I had to drop that down to keep this transistor from over dissipating. So I strung some metal oxide resistors here to get the power consumption down to decrease the voltage drop across the transistor. That's what I'm trying to say. So it looks like I got a 2N2222A pulling on this relay. Obviously there's some resistors. There's a hysteresis resistor. Kind of looks like a 22 meg. So the turn on and the turn off point isn't the same on the comparator. That way it doesn't sit there and chatter. And looks like 2 resistors there on the transistor. What else I see on here? I guess that's about it. So I stuck me a little barrier strip up here. And let me see. That is going to the temperature sensor. So, before I show you the temperature sensor, I will show you the rest of the trick out. I don't know how well that can be seen, but that's not a Sansui transformer either. That's actually a Kenwood transformer. So let me try to remember here. I think I bumped up the supply voltage. I'm just not sure at this point. Obviously, I'm just gonna pick this apart with what I see. These things here just really bug me. Open fuse holders, because you always seem to get in there with something and run your elbow up against it. So I don't know, but I cut the tube to an X-Acto blade holder and slid over top of it, and I put some heat shrink on these guys, because it's just not good to have mains connections setting on the top where they're not insulated. I mean, granted, we still have them here and there and everywhere, but it's just not really a good idea. I want to say, I don't know, I guess that insulating pad was under there, and that's originally where it was mounted. I don't know, I'm kind of drawing a blank on that one. This is the lighting tap for my new and improved lights, which are probably like bright enough to bring down airplanes out of the sky. No LEDs in this, no LEDs, guys. We don't use them, only incandescents. So, and there's my 400 milliamp fuse for the control board. So, there's a little tiny heat sink. And I know I did more than that. I know what I did. I wanted to see if it was at all possible to yank these, let me think here now. My thinking's not so clear. These TO220 transistors out of here, they were Sankins. I don't remember what they were, what the 2S numbers were. But I just wanted to see if it would be possible to get some TO3Ps mounted in there. And it absolutely was possible. I think I had to drill some new holes in the circuit board. And down in here, I see a piece of green stuff that kind of looks like chewing gum in a sheet. And what that is that's thermal. My words aren't coming to me now. That is a thermal device. And I think what I did was, once I got the TO3s against this heat sink, I think I had space or something between this bracket and the heat sink. So I wanted to heat sink the front of the transistor package up against this, and I wanted it to all made up, continuous with no gaps. So I ran a piece of chewing, I call it chewing gum, down the front of the transistors. And I don't know, I'm not going to speculate what the thermal properties are on it. Wakefield made it, and my words aren't coming to me right now. So I did that, but long story short, I threw in some transistors that were comparable to what we would use in the AUD5. They weren't the original AUD5 transistors though. And I know they weren't 4468s because I won't use them. They were something that had a very linear, what do they call them, LAPTs, where the beta is consistent over a wide current range. But I don't know, I can't think clearly right now. So that's what I did with that. This is like a moment of discovery. I also, now that I see it, I put in a heavier rectifier, and oh, I bumped up the filter caps to 6800s. I want to say they were 4700s originally. I bumped them up, put the new transformer in, and squeezed a couple extra watts out of it. I don't remember where I took the bias to on them, but the heatsink, back to what I was talking about, the heatsink does not sit there cooking now, because if you put this thing on a 6 ohm load and crank the bass up, that thing's gonna get screaming mad at you. So that fan is like perfect. I mic'd all this out before I laid it out, and I drilled the hole for the fan, and I measured everything out like super accurately to make sure this fan was centered, and to make sure that it was mounted in a position where I wasn't going to get airflow restriction from these caps sitting there. All kinds of crazy stuff. So that's what I did there. It's hard to see the centering of the fan in relation to the caps. Oh, I see what else I did. I redid the meter drivers. I absolutely redid the meter drivers, but I don't remember what exactly I did to them. But I like to mess with meters, and if I see that they have a strange way of rectifying it, and the attack and the decay is not to my liking on a meter, I will go through and modify these things or change them around or do whatever I do to them to get the meter to respond better. So there's trimmers down here to trim the meters. Did this thing have 3 sets of bulb, or one set of, yeah, one set of 3? Did this thing have 3 bulbs in it originally? I don't think it did. You know what? As a matter of fact, I know it didn't. I put 2 extra sockets in here, and I got dropping resistors, and that was probably a whole process to get these lights at the right intensity. So that's what my 1 amp fuse was for my lighting tap. Now it's all coming back to me, I remember. I was pulling so much current on those incandescent lights, I was getting a little bit concerned that I might stress out that transformer. So I had to back them down a little bit, and then I ended up fusing them. Because these taps, these lighting taps, have current limits, and a lot of times they're very small. That's a problem you run into sometimes. What else did I do? Oh, I know what else I did. Since I didn't have a B set of speakers, we disconnected this one. Of course, the A still works, but I guess it doesn't really matter if it has to or if it works or not, because there's only one set. So I'm almost guessing that I just jumped the A's out. But I might have done more than that, because Sansui does something that bugs me. And that is, they pull wires off of the amp board somewhere, and then what do they do with them? Instead of, you know, having the speakers or having the wires feed directly to the binding post, they'll route the stupid wire the whole way up to the corner to go through the headphone jack and various functions on the power switch that you don't know exist, and all kinds of stupid little things, and then turn around and run the speaker wires the whole way back to the binding post. That just bugs me. So I did away with that. Because, you know, it's stupid little stuff, you know. Yeah, maybe it didn't matter. Maybe you'll never notice it. But, you know, it's definitely going to have some small effect on the dampening factor. I mean, why do it? That's why the dampening factor on the D5 and the D7 is so incredible compared to other stuff, because they don't run wires halfway around the chassis to get them to the binding post. As soon as you come off of the relay goes right into the binding post, and the transistors are sitting right there, which does make a difference, believe it or not. So that now that I'm done ranting and raving, that's what I got. This is what I got. Of course, it doesn't really matter how precisely this fan's set and where it's set, but you know, there are things there. You know, there's a science to that too, but there isn't. There is, but there isn't. So I don't know. I set this thing at like 120 degrees, and at least now the heatsink doesn't run real hot. I think the trying to find the words for it. Oh my, I just can't even think right now. I'm thinking that the hysteresis range was about 10 degrees between the turn on and the turn off, but I just can't think of the right terminology right now to use. So say it comes on at 120, it's going to shut itself back off when the temperature drops down to 110. On a house thermostat, they call that deadband, if you were an HVAC man. So that's my little tricked out A40. There's a couple other things. Let me pause this. Okay, more stuff's coming to me now. Almost forgot to show you the most important part. This is a temperature sensor. It's just a negative temperature coefficient thermistor. But what worked out really cool about it is I drilled this thing right up into the heatsink, directly behind the transistors. Smack dab in the center, but to the back of them. So whatever temperature this sees is what them transistors are. There's no error. Not like error matters in something like this, but I'm just saying. And it worked out really well. It took me a couple tries and a couple different sizes and this and that, and I had to mess around with it a little bit to get a perfect fit. And then I put heatsink compound on it and pushed it down in, and it was a nice firm fit, like it was made to go into that heatsink. So then I just pulled the wires off, and I just put a jumper across here as a tie down to hold these wires down, and then just ran it into a piece of shielded cable, and then used the shield on the cable as a hold down for the cable. So, you know, it don't get better than that. A little bit of overkill, I'd say. Oh, and I put, I changed the value of the bleeders because we changed the value of the caps. This was all Sansui's doing. I'm not going to get into that with these resistors. Now, this was my doing. I just realized what I did was I was going to make some changes to this that they had done on the A80. And without going into a lot of detail, that was a constant current and a constant voltage source for the differential pair. But I only carried out one of those functions. I did the constant voltage source. So I put 2 Jan mil-spec diodes in here. I'm guessing they were 20s, but you know, I don't know. It's been a while. So I got 2 Jan diodes in there for voltage to the differential pair. This is my doing. I am not sure what that is, to be honest. It looks like there's a 1.5K in series with a 470. I'm drawing blanks on that one. Don't know. And here's our lovely Panasonic PPS chips. You just can't say anything bad about them. For our treble control. And oh no, I missed one last thing. One super small detail. I redid the bottom. Check that thing out. Did I need to do this? No, I did not need to do this. I was bored and I had a roll of copper tape and I wanted something to do. So I sat here and poked out, I don't know, 1,000 holes with the X-Acto knife or a drill bit and did this. And I knocked these holes out of the ventilation because these were the holes towards the front, and we certainly don't need them if we got a fan blowing in there and pulling air back and forth through here. So I knocked out some of the ventilation holes and just ran the shield over top of them and trimmed up all the edges on it. Doesn't show well, I guess, under light. It was just aluminum foil that was on top of it on the old fiber board. So there we are. 22 minutes and 35 seconds of Sansui a-40. Put new binding post in. Ran a new silver plated cable from the auxiliary. I don't know, by the time I hit the stop button I'm going to think of something else. I might have got it all. I might have got it all. So there we are. Give me a thumbs up if you appreciate this. I would sure appreciate it. Have a good day.